In this video, we will show you how to replace your starter on this Honda Civic. This will be located along the rear of your engine. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. Under your hood, we're looking for the battery. We have to disconnect the negative battery terminal. We'll use a 10mm for the mounting nut. Loosen that up just enough that you can remove that terminal end from the battery and set it aside so it's making no contact. Safely raise and support the front end of your vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. We're going to have to remove the wheel by removing all 5 of our 19mm lug nuts, and we can get this off of here. From under the vehicle, we're going to have to remove our metal skid plate. This is held in place with 4 Phillips head screws and several hooks. As for the screws, we're using a Phillips head. Just go ahead and start removing each of those. Now continuing on, we're going to have to take hold of this shield and we'll slide it straight rearward. If you were paying attention along the shield itself, you're going to find that it has 4 small hooks holding it in place. We'll just take hold of this, slide it off of there. Now we're reaching up along the rear of the engine here. Just above the passenger side front axle, you're going to find that you have a bracket that leads from the engine up towards where our plastic intake is. We're going to remove this bracket. You'll find that you have 1 12mm headed mounting bolt holding it to the engine and 2 10mm headed bolts holding this bracket to the intake. We'll get the 12mm bolt out of there, a quick inspection, and start it back in just a couple threads. There's that bolt. It's time for our 2 10mm mounting bolts. Remove that bolt and the bracket. Now that we have the bracket out of place here, we're going to pay attention to our wiring harnesses and electrical connectors. We're going to have more slack as we start pulling the starter out and away. So what we want to do is go ahead and follow this wiring harness over this way. We will be disconnecting this, but for now let's continue on heading towards the driver's side. We're going to make our way just in front of our passenger side front axle where it goes into the transmission. We can see where our passenger side inner axle boot is. Making our way towards where the engine is, we're going to find that we have this plate. We have to dislodge it. It's held in place with 2 10mm headed mounting bolts. There's one down here. There's one a little bit up further, right there. The top one's a little bit difficult to gain access to, but the good news is we do not need to fully remove it. We just need to loosen it. As for the bottom one, we're going to completely pull that one out, and we should be able to slide this plate out of place to gain access to an electrical connector. There's that bolt. See if we can take hold of this shield. We may have to loosen up that bolt just a little bit more. I do have some movement, but I'd like a little more. Okay. Now we can see that electrical connector back here. To disconnect this electrical connector, there's a locking tab. It's right behind the wiring harness here, so I'm going to be extremely careful with the wiring. Just go ahead and press in on that tab. On this one, I can actually hear a small click coming from it, so that's giving me a good sign that I can pull this out and away. A quick inspection for corrosion, of course, that looks fine. Let's put this up on top of the axle. We're going to give ourselves a little bit more space here. So now just above that axle, let's tackle that blue electrical connector. Has a locking tab. Just go ahead and squeeze that in and pull that out of place. Just like always, quick inspection for corrosion. Continuing from here, we have to start separating the wiring harnesses from the metal bracket, which is attached to the starter. If you wanted to, you could leave those harnesses on the bracket itself and then just go ahead and swap over the bracket to the new starter. Typically, it's a good idea to replace the bracket at the same time as the starter. That's the way we send it. So to get the next connector off of here, I'm going to be using an angled pick and also a long pry bar. As for the angled pick, I'm going to be coming from the driver's side of this connector here. I just want to try to grab onto the locking tab, press that away. Now I'm going to apply some pressure here and we should be able to pull this off of the bracket. Even if you can grab hold of the locking clip and pry it away as you should, you may still find that the plastic clip itself is adhered to the metal bracket. It's common for this to break. If that's the case, you can just use a wire tie to hold it in place. This one kind of looks like it's flexing. I think it's probably going to break. In that same area, it's time to dislodge this larger portion of the wiring harness from its mounting bracket. Just going to use a pry bar directly up against the plastic portion and try tapping this off of the metal bracket. Okay. Perfect. Now continuing with that same wiring harness, we're just going to move above that. You can see where the wiring harness connects to the next mounting bracket, which is attached to that starter. We're going to have to dislodge this. On the bottom of that bracket, you should be able to see where that clip makes its way through. The bottom of the clip has two locking ears. Just go ahead and squeeze in on those ears while you're trying to lift up on that wiring harness. It should want to dislodge. There we are. Now we're going through the passenger side wheel well area, all the way over for the upper mounting bolt on that starter. I'm using a swivel socket and an extension, of course. There's that mounting bolt. A quick inspection, of course. That looks good. Now it's time to start removing our lower mounting bolt. We had removed our wiring harnesses from the bracket. As we make our way just above that right front axle, that's where you're going to find the 14mm headed mounting bolt for the bottom portion of the starter. Keep in mind, as we start removing this starter, there is still wiring harnesses attached to it. We're going to dislodge those once we get the starter out of place. Let's dislodge the starter. I'm just going to reach up here, attempt to give it a wiggle. It's common for it to be stuck in place. If that's the case, we'll just tap on it, causing vibration. It should want to break free. Just going to use a brass punch right along here, tap on it with a hammer. Now we can move this starter around. We've got some movement here. Should be able to start sliding this out and away so we can gain access up along the top forward side there for our wiring harnesses. Let's come down at an angle. There we are. Now we can remove our protective boot from this area. This is going to expose a mounting nut for our wiring harness. Now we can pull our protective boot aside, and that exposes our 12mm headed mounting nut. There's that. Should be able to pull that off of the starter now. Just give it a little wiggle. There we are. One more electrical connector up along the top area here. Has a locking tab. Squeeze it in and pull this out of place. There we go. Let's start pulling the starter out towards the passenger side wheel well. Come up through over the axle. There it is, friend. Prior to installation of our brand new starter, it's important to make sure you clean and inspect the mounting surface. For this, you can use some sandpaper, wire brush, or even just a cloth. Whatever you do, don't use any parts cleaner in this area. After we finish cleaning that as well as we can, we're also going to clean the mounting surface on our power wire here. You want to clean both sides of it. I'm just using some fine sandpaper. Give it a light scuffing. Just make sure there's no raised areas. That looks good. Okay, friend, let's get ready to install our brand new starter. Before you get it in place, the first thing we want to do is go ahead and remove our mounting nut and each of our two washers that go on where the power wire would be. After that, let's continue on through that passenger side wheel well. We'll bring this over towards being in the proper position, but we don't want to have it fully seated because we do have to attach our wiring harnesses first. Now that we've got this closer, let's start with the plug-in electrical connector. Line it up, press it in, listen for a click, give that a tug, confirming it's properly secured. If this falls off when you're driving, you're going to find that you can't start the vehicle once you turn it off. And of course, it will be very difficult to gain access to. There we are, that one's pressed on there. Let's continue on to installing our large wire now. This one's just going to slide over the mounting stud, which is part of the starter. Once you have that in place on the starter, we're going to continue on with our flat washer, and then our locking washer, and then we'll install our mounting nut, holding everything together. Once everything's on there, we'll just go ahead and snug it up. There's our flat washer, just slide that on there. There's our flat washer. Install that locking washer. Now let's try to get our mounting nut on there as well. Right there is bottomed out. We're just going to make sure that we do crush that crush washer a little bit there. Remove the ratchet, make sure it's seated properly. Just double check, make sure that's secured in place properly. Once it's tight, just make sure you protect that area with its protective rubber boot. I want to make sure that this cannot ground out up against anything. That can be a fire hazard. Now we can get the starter in place. We'll bring it over towards the transmission mounting point there, align the mounting bolt ports, and start in each of those mounting bolts. With this in place, let's continue on to starting in each one of our 2 mounting bolts. We are not tightening either of these yet. Get this one in first. It's easier to gain access to. You can move the starter up and down as necessary. Now it's time for the upper mounting bolt. For this, it's fairly difficult to see where it has to go, but if you were to just look up along the top of the starter where we had that small plastic electrical connector, the bolt goes just above it. There we are. They're both started in. Let's start snugging them up. We're starting with the top one first. There's one. Let's get the next one. All right, they're both snug. The torque for each of these is 33 foot-pounds. There's that top one. Now we can start securing our electrical wiring harness. Start with this upper one here. If you have a hard time gaining access by hand, you can try using a pick like I am here. Either way can be fairly difficult. There we are. Just press that in there. Continuing on, we're going to secure this portion of the wiring harness where the green bend is. Just get it right onto its bracket and slide it down into position here. Let's continue on with resecuring our wiring harness down here. We're going to go where this green wire bend is here. Just go ahead and slide it directly down onto this bracket. We'll double check, make sure that's secured once we feel as though it's on. There we are. Audible click, a light tug confirming that's properly secured. Now this connector should actually attach to this bracket. For this, you would just want to take it and come from the transmission side or the driver's side and then slide this right on over this area. Since ours is broken, I'm going to connect it first to the blue connector, and then I'll be using a wire tie to hold it in place. I'm not leaving this loose so it dangles and potentially gets damaged in any way. A nice little click from that. Just double check. Now in between the engine and our right front inboard CV axle, we need to make our way down to where this shield and electrical connector is. First, go ahead and plug in your electrical connector. Just going to line this up, press it in. There we are. It's hard to see back there once it is plugged in. You just want to make sure you hear an audible click, a light tug, confirming it's properly secured. Continue on with your shield. For the shield, as you remember, we left the upper mounting bolts in place, but loose. We're going to slide that shield in and behind the bolt head there, and we'll align the lower mounting bolt port, start that one in, and then we can snug both of the bolts. Okay, bottomed out. Just a tiny bit further there. Let's get the upper mounting bolt. Okay, right there's bottomed out. Take that a tiny bit further. Double check, make sure that's completely seated. Now it's time for our next metal bracket. This one's going to go from in between the engine here all the way up to our plastic intake. The engine side is our 12mm headed mounting bolt, and as for the other two, we're going to be using a 10mm for each of those. Let's get this in place. We'll start in each of the mounting bolts before tightening any of them. Now when tightening these, I'm going to hold pressure on our bracket, holding it towards the engine, but I'm tightening the 10mm headed mounting bolts first. To torque these bolts, we're going to start with the engine bolt. 17 foot-pounds for this one. For the two 10mm bolts, we're torquing those to 7 foot-pounds. It's time to install our metal shield along the bottom area. For this shield, there's going to be several areas that we need to pay attention to. Starting up along the front, the shield needs to slide up and inside this area and up along this area here. As we make our way towards the center, you're going to find that you have two small hooks, and all the way back at the rear, two more small hooks. We're going to have to get everything aligned here as we continue on sliding this forward. Generally, I pay attention up at the front, and then after that, seems like it's aligned, continue on with each of those hooks. Okay, let's just double check to make sure we're properly seated. Assuming you are, continue on with your 4 Phillips head mounting screws to hold this in place. Now it's time to install our passenger side front wheel. We'll get the wheel in place. Start on all 5 of our 19mm lug nuts. We'll bottom them out. Get the wheel safely on the ground and we can torque each of these to 80 foot-pounds. We've got the wheel back on the ground. Let's torque these in a crisscross manner to that 80 foot-pounds. Torqued. Now we're back up under the hood here. It's time to reconnect our negative battery terminal. We'll just press that down onto the battery as far as possible. Tighten your 10mm nut just enough that it snugs this down. Okay, bottomed out. Just a tiny bit further there. Double check, make sure it's properly secured. Okay, friend, we finished the installation of our vehicle starter. At this point, you want to hop in the passenger compartment. Attempt to start up the vehicle several times, confirming the starter functions as it should. After that, go ahead and close the hood and take your vehicle for a road test. Perfect.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.